Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm doing another audio diary. I can't sleep. It's really early in the morning, so that's why I'm whispering. But there's just a lot on my mind that I want to get off because I'm just very anxious and overwhelmed. And whenever I post audio diaries, people seem to like them or they seem to relate, so I just wanted to post one. So there's just a lot on my mind. For those of you who are into astrology, you know that we are currently going through a Mercury retrograde. And for those of you who are not into astrology, basically the Mercury retrograde is just a time period where we get to kind of review and reflect on things that have happened in our past, especially things that we haven't really healed from, things that we haven't fully processed, and things of that sort. So we've been going through that for the past couple of weeks, and that's why I've been uploading a lot of videos about my past and, just trying to really process the things that have happened to me throughout, my 20s. I'm 31 years old now, but just trying to process what happened throughout my 20s. And the more I sit and think about certain things, the more just disturbed and discouraged I get, especially because now I'm finding out that one of the people that I mentioned in my storytime video, I guess the new person that they were dealing with caught wind of my videos and cut them off. Just didn't want anything to do with them because of how disturbing the content of the videos are. And apparently this person blamed me. This person blames me for that and was basically reaching out to me and asking me if I could take the videos down. And it's so crazy because I actually considered doing it at first. I really considered taking it down because I'm just like, I don't want anyone's past to be used against them necessarily, especially if they have grown and healed. But then I had to really snap myself out of it and come to my senses. Like, this is how you ended up with that person in the first place. Having too much empathy for people, having too much compassion for people, and then allowing them to get away with treacherous things. You know what I'm saying? So I had to snap myself out of it. Like, no, I'm not going to take the video down. Like, that's ridiculous. And then they basically started, I wouldn't say blackmailing, but they were just implying things like, oh, well, you were texting me back to back to back. You were doing this. You were the abuser. You were the toxic one. So why do you get to put up a video of me? And I say that that's kind of blackmail because I just feel like the tone that the person said it in, it almost sounded like, well, don't make me put up your text. Don't make me put up your messages. And that just deeply disturbed my spirit because when I dealt with these people throughout my 20s, whenever they would do these terrible, horrific things and then not hold themselves accountable for it, I would lash out at them. And I wouldn't initially lash out. Like, it wasn't like they do something and I'm just going off and flying into a rage. It was like I would try to sit down, talk to them, communicate, express myself, be vulnerable, and I would be met with gaslighting, deflection, sometimes them just flying into a rage, punching walls, walking out, like them just not wanting to be held accountable, right? And when they would do that, and they would block me, I would just lose it. I would literally lose it, like texting them back to back to back, emailing them, and things of that sort. And, on social media, I see people say that they do that. Like, they talk about it like it's like a casual thing. Like, oh, yeah, if somebody blocks me, I'm going to go ahead and text them from a new number, or I'm going to go ahead and Cash App them and tell them to unblock me. And every time I look at that, it just makes me tense up because even though they're talking about it like it's something lighthearted, I don't find it to be lighthearted. I find it to be very toxic and destructive. And it's actually painful to think back to me doing those things because I felt so invalidated and because I felt so violated. And then after being violated and ignored, it's like, it's almost like you just lose your shit and just start, like I said, reaching out, texting, emailing, like to the point where it makes you look like you're the problem, you're the abuser, you're the stalker, especially because it's like what you're saying gets more and more inflammatory as you're trying to get them to respond. Like it cycles between texting, like, how could you do this to me? Or like texting, like, please answer me, like, we need to talk about this. And then it kind of, it can go in the other direction, like, well, F you, I never loved you anyway, and that's why I'm with somebody else anyway, I hate you. And then it cycles back to like, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean that, let's just talk about it. Like, when I used to read those texts back, when I would go through those things, I would be like mortified and would just always ask myself, like, why can't you just, when someone does this to you, why can't you just take it and leave, or like take it and just be quiet? Like, why do you have to lash out? And it took me doing a lot of research on the subject to realize that it's a very common thing for people to do that when they're being abused, emotionally abused and things of that sort, and then they're being invalidated, especially if they're dating a narcissist. That it's actually a very common thing to try to pierce the narcissist's indifference by being extra dramatic. I don't want to say dramatic because that's a word that's usually used to say like, oh, you're unnecessarily, being dramatic. But y'all get what I'm trying to say. And I'll link a video by Sam Vaknin that really taught me a lot about this, because I felt so just ashamed of myself that I would participate in things like that and that I would lose control like that. And I had to do a lot of research. And like I said, Sam Vaknin's video about how people, even the most healthy, stable people, do this when they're being invalidated. It made me feel a little less ashamed, but it's still, it's something that I know that I needed to work on, or I needed to stay away from people who do this so that isn't triggered in me. So yeah, this person started saying like, well, you want to put videos up and ruin my life, and you want to put videos up and ruin my friendships, which is crazy because the friendship that this person is referring to, it was not a friendship. This was a person who I don't even know how to even explain this. If you watch my last video, you know what I'm talking about. The ending of my last video where I talked about how I got devalued and discarded. That's the person they're referring to. So this is not a friend. Like, in that in itself was just gaslighting, because it's like, you're asking me to take down a video because it ruined a situation with someone who you devalued me and discarded me for. Like, that's kind of crazy. And then you're repainting it as a friendship when that wasn't the case. And when I tell you this person got so nasty when they discarded me for this person, it's like, and if anybody has ever dated a narcissist, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, when they have new supply, they get very nasty, like just downright despicably nasty. I know the difference between, someone just losing interest and them, moving on, versus a devalue and a discard. They're two completely different things. They're two completely different feelings. And so, I just found that interesting that right off the bat, it was gaslighting. Like, oh, my friend cut me off because of this. And I'm like, that wasn't your friend. Like, let's not rewrite history. And it's just amazing that you're trying to rewrite it now because you're trying to get me to take this video down. And when that didn't work, it was like, oh, well, what if I showed everyone these texts? Or what if I released these texts of you and all this and that? And I'm just like, listen, at the end of the day, I am ashamed that during the devaluation and discard phase, I lost it and, sent you all those messages and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not about to let you use that against me when I know for a fact that these things that I was doing were a result of the games you were playing, So you can do whatever you want. I'm not about to let you like blackmail me or try to weaponize my platform. Like, I'm not going to do it. So then it escalated even more to now this person saying, well, I don't understand how you have the right to put these videos up about me when you're the one who abused me. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to end this conversation now because now it's getting ridiculous. I never abused you at all. Like, it's like he just kept getting more and more inflammatory because I wouldn't take the videos down. And I'm like, I never abused you at all. Like, that's BS. And then he went on to say, well, you put your hands on me. And that's when I got extremely triggered. extremely triggered because I never put my hands on this person. And it's interesting because in the last video that I put up, somebody in the comment section said, you need to be careful of a person like this because they're the type of person that will set you up and they'll accuse you of domestic violence or assault. And I'll put the screenshot of the comment up. And they were extremely right. And it's so crazy how they kind of like predicted that in a way, because I put that video up and now look at what this person's trying to do. And I was just like, what are you talking about? I never put my hands on you. What are you talking about? And they just started gaslighting. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You were abusive to me through the whole relationship. How come you get to put up videos? I never put up anything about you. And I'm just like, this is a joke, right? Just straight up gaslighting me directly to my face. Well, not to my face, but he reached out over the phone, but just straight up gaslighting me. And just saying whatever he needed to say because he wanted me to take the videos down. But also, it's almost like he was malfunctioning because, you know, the person, his friend, quote unquote, cut him off. Then he went into victim mode. Like, am I just not allowed to ever be happy? Am I just never allowed to be happy? Is everyone always going to look at me as a monster? And I'm like, but that's the thing. No one would be looking at you as a monster if you had been a decent human being and handled everyone like a human being. Like you treat people like they're animals. And, you know, I love animals, so you shouldn't treat animals badly either. But you get what I'm saying, the comparison. When people it's interesting to me because people act like you asking to be treated like a human being is too much for them. It's too much to ask of them. And I just feel disgusted. I just feel disgusted. Not just on my own behalf, but on behalf of like all the thousands of people that I read comments that have dealt with narcissists or have dealt with abusive partners. And it's just so heinous and disgusting how, like I said, they treat you as less than human. And then when you lash out at them, they use that as an excuse of why they treated you as less than human. And then when the relationship is over and you go to, you know, have an outlet for the things you've been through, now here they are gaslighting you and trying to convince you that you were the one in the wrong, to silence you. And even to go as far as to tell you to your face, like, oh, you hit me, you abused me, when you know that's not true. And to say it in like a threatening tone, like it made it sound like, oh, you have a platform that's like where you talk about being abused. Like, should I tell everyone that you abused me? Like that sort of thing. It, like the whole thing is just disgusting and diabolical. And I think about, like I said, all the thousands of people who I have comments from that have been through things like this and who are probably, you know, who probably had it much worse, actually. They've probably been accused of much more heinous things and had smear campaigns ran against them, which I'm going to do a video about smear campaigns. But yeah, probably went through like smear campaigns times a million, you know, worse than what I'm experiencing. And I just feel so disturbed and just sickened that stuff like this goes on. And that you can get into a relationship with the best intentions and it ending with you just being like villainized and demonized for nothing. Like not even for nothing, but you're being demonized because someone abused you. Like you get abused and then they want to hide that they abused you. So, and they want to silence you. So they turn you into the abuser. I think that that's just sick and it's just evil. It's evil. Especially because a lot of people who get involved in relationship with narcissists are highly sensitive people who come from bad homes and who are just looking for friendship, looking for love, looking for connection, and to be destroyed in this relationship and then afterwards demonized, like, it's sick and disgusting. But I'm kind of glad that this is happening and that this person circled back because it just reawakened the importance of my channel. I stopped uploading to my channel for a long time because of a group of narcissistic people that I met, one in particular being the worst. And y'all see how I disappeared off YouTube completely. And this just kind of reawakened the importance of my channel and why I need to get back on YouTube and film, because I know there's so many people that go through stuff like this, you know? So, yeah, this person started saying that I hit them and all this. And I'm just like, that's just disgusting, because you were the only one that was physically abusive to me, which I detailed in the video. And I didn't even mention in the video, like, the marks and the scars that were all over my body when he would have these violent outbursts. And I would take pictures of them, of all the scars and the marks. And then later he would gaslight me into deleting them. I documented a lot of what was going on because I knew that something was off about how I was being treated, even though I was in the throes of a trauma bond so intense that, you know, I couldn't pull myself out, but there's a part of me still fighting to get out and wanting to document what was happening. So I had so many pictures, I had so many videos, and he would just gaslight me into believing that he wasn't wrong, or gaslighting me into believing that it was just a result of his mental health issues and that he's actually sorry. And then paint this picture like, well, what if somebody accidentally finds your phone one day and sees all that stuff in your phone? Like, that'll be something that's out there forever and it would ruin my everything. Like, you know, and I would go ahead and delete a lot of things. And just thinking back on it, I'm like, why did I do that? But then I have to ask myself, tell myself that I was in a highly abusive, highly toxic, manipulative relationship. So I had to forgive myself for even deleting all that. Thankfully, there was one video that I still have of him trying to commit in front of me. Like I said in my last video, I have a video of the one time that he tried to do it. And thankfully, I had saved that. And I guess I skipped over and accidentally didn't delete it. But that's the only piece of evidence I really have. And this person is just like smearing me pretty much. Or like, I don't know if he's smearing me, but basically threatened to smear me if I didn't take the videos down. And so I'm just like, well, I still have that one video as evidence that you are the problem. But knowing this particular narcissist, they could find a way to even flip that around and say, oh, no, it was reactive abuse in that video. She did something to me first, or something crazy like that. But I know that that video that I still have, when I sent it to a couple of my friends, they were just in complete and total shock, because they were like, I've never seen anything like that before. Because in the video, like I detailed in the last Storytime video, he was hacking at his wrists because of the fact that he got caught talking to another girl. And when I confronted him, he immediately tried to grab a knife. And so in the video, you hear me saying, like, what are you trying to grab a knife for? Are you trying to kill me? Because I told you on the last video as well that I have an aunt that died in that way at the hands of her boyfriend. So you hear me in the video asking, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to kill me? Like, and then you see him he couldn't find the knife. So he grabbed a razor and started just hacking at his wrist in the video in the most violent way. And then in the end, he slams the razor on the ground and just like, basically like just shoulder checks the hell out of me. And you hear me just scream out like in the video, and then it cuts off. Which is so crazy because I don't even remember actually recording that necessarily. I guess it must have been something in my mind that said, the next time he pulls this, make sure that you record, because he had been doing it so often. So I have that video. And when I sent it to my friends and family, they were just like horrified. They were like, I've never seen anything like this. Like, thank God you made it out that house alive. So for this person to now try to come around and say, if I don't take the videos down, they're showing text. And I'm like, showing text of what though? Of me lashing out because you refuse to hold yourself accountable. of me lashing out because I was being devalued and discarded for another person. Like, when you never even apologize for the things that you've done, okay, like, go ahead. But then also, yeah, and them also lying about me physically assaulting them, that's ridiculous. And they can go ahead and, like, that's just absolutely disgusting and ridiculous. But also, one other thing that I found very interesting is that in the midst of this person, you know, ranting and raving about how wrong it is for me to have these videos up, they started to completely rewrite what happened at the end of our relationship. They started to rehash what happened, and I was just flabbergasted at how they lied. Because in my mind, well, not even in my mind, but I basically said this. I was just like, I just think it's weird that, like, I was devalued and discarded, and now the person that you devalued and discarded me for, they happen to see my videos. It's a story time that happened years ago, but like I said, everything that goes on in the dark comes to the light. So even if it did happen years ago, the new person, they're just seeing it as if it happened right now. So of course they don't want anything to do with you, right? I said, but I think that's weird that, like, you would expect me to take those videos down to help you out. Like, isn't that strange? I'm devalued and discarded, and the new person don't want nothing to do with you. So now you're trying to come to me and tell me, like, that's ridiculous. And they were just like, well, you're the reason that we broke up in the first place. So how did I devalue you? How did I discard you? Like, you're the reason we broke up. I'm like, do explain to me how. How am I the reason that we broke up? I would love to hear it. And then he starts to talk about, oh yeah, you physically assaulted me. And I'm like, yeah, you keep on saying that and this conversation is over, because that's a complete and total lie. So keep on saying that and the conversation is just done, which the conversation should have been done anyway. So then, yeah, they started on this whole spiel about how they were never happy in the relationship, how I was unreasonable and all this and that. And I was just like, give me an example of me being unreasonable throughout the whole relationship. I would love to know. And then they made up this whole story about a conversation that they tried to sit down and communicate with me, and that I was just completely just unreasonable, unwilling to communicate, unwilling to budge, that I tried to get them to quit their job so that they could be laid up with me all day. I was just like, is this a joke? Like, the story that they made up about why we broke up was so opposite of who I am as a person. I'm like, no wonder when we were together, everyone hated me, because the way that you have just told this story with such conviction, I would hate me as well. The story that this person told, like I said, was so completely opposite of who I am as a person, and none of it ever happened. And it painted me as like this crazy, controlling, abusive woman who can't communicate well, who has no control over their emotions, like, just painting me in that light. And I'm just thinking, like, is this a joke? Because if you watch my last story time video, all the times that man tried to commit in front of me because he didn't want to be held accountable, and he is literally pushing those traits onto me. And I'm just like, this is just sick and disgusting and wrong. So at that point, I'm like, I've heard enough. I said, I've heard enough. And then he says something along the lines of like, yeah, and I'm talking back to like my ex anyway, or something like that. Like, basically implying like, even if I don't take the video down and even if the new supply never comes back to him, he still has like backup supply. Like, he went back to his ex, which I found to be disgusting, because this ex, I had a lot of compassion for this ex, and he had none. He had no compassion for her whatsoever. That's a whole story within itself. The only reason that he even still has access to that ex is because of how much compassion I showed her, because he was going to do something so malicious and heinous to her, and I stopped him from doing it. And it's not even like he was going to do it like, well, maybe it was intentional. I don't know now that I think about him and who he is, but it more so seemed like something careless. And I had to remind him, like, do you understand, like, that would destroy your ex's feelings? Like, why would you do something like that? You know what I'm saying? I had to stop him from doing something so malicious. And so me stopping him from doing that is probably the only reason why she would even be willing to entertain conversation with him. So I found that to be just so everything is just coming full circle and everything is just so insane. I just had to get this off my mind and off my chest, because I just feel disgusted for the most part. I feel disgusted that he would have the audacity to ask me to take down a video, that he would start to try to blackmail me with text of me lashing out, when every time I lashed out is because he didn't want to hold himself accountable at all and would block me. Now, every time he lashed out, it was because he wouldn't hold himself accountable. You see what I'm saying? It's like, let's compare me lashing out to you lashing out. You lashing out was you punching walls, you trying to commit, trying to unalive yourself in front of me, you doing all of this crazy violent shit. And what was the reasoning behind it? Because you kept getting caught with other girls, and every time you would dodge accountability by doing these things. Now let's compare it to me lashing out. Me lashing out was you getting caught with other girls and trying to dodge accountability. So you running out of the house, blocking me, degrading me, gaslighting me. That's when I would lash out. So let's compare the reasoning behind my lashing out behind the reasoning for yours and see who the actual toxic abuser is, quote unquote. So, yeah, for the most part, I just feel disgusted. I feel like this is definitely spiritual warfare, for sure, because I was just now about to get back on YouTube. I was just now about to get back comfortable uploading again. I pulled myself out of depression. Like, I felt like I was doing so well. And now now this person is trying to hang something over my head and trying to tell people that I don't know if he's telling people this or if he just like slipped it in there to threaten me, but like to try to say that I physically abused him, which it was the complete opposite, and trying to repaint our whole relationship as, oh yeah, I was never happy with her. She abused me the whole time. And then I found someone new and now I'm happy with them. But then, she uploaded a video and then my new person doesn't want me anymore. Like, that's the story that this person is trying to paint. And I'm just like, how dare you? Like, just how dare you? It's just, the whole thing is just disgusting to me. And I feel like it's spiritual warfare, and I feel like it's trying to get me to stay off YouTube or trying to get me to shy away from my platform. And I'm getting really sick and tired of experiencing these types of things where all I want to do is film and heal and live my life. And it's always some demonic shit going on trying to block that from happening. And I'm sick of it. And also, when he's basically implied that his ex is like, oh, well, I still have my ex or whatever. I was like, well, I'll be reaching out to her for sure, because that's disgusting. Like, the way you're even speaking about her as if she's like a toy that you can now come back and play with. Like, I'll be reaching out to her as well. Because at the end of the day, the only reason you even have access to this person is because of my compassion for her. You were going to do something heinous and malicious to this person. So before you abuse or anything else, like abuse another woman or rope another woman in, I will be giving her the heads up. Well, okay, I didn't tell him that I was going to do this, because obviously that would be very dangerous. And I don't even recommend that anybody do this. But in this case, it wouldn't sit right with me on my conscience if I didn't give her the heads up, and she can make her own decisions from there. So I went on her page, and it kind of looks like I didn't even need to give her the heads up, because the first thing that I saw was like, my ex-narcissist has returned randomly. I wonder what he wants. He's probably trying to pull me back into toxicity. That's literally what she said on her page, like that she has an ex-covert narcissist that has randomly popped back up, and she wonders what he wants. And he's trying to pull her back into toxicity and all of that. So I'm just like, okay, well, she seems to have it figured out, which, like I said, I don't necessarily recommend reaching out to people in this way, because that could kind of backfire. Because if they tell the narcissist, it'll just make the narcissist even more enraged and want to smear you even more, which is a shame, because like, you should be able to warn people. I wish someone would have warned me. And it's crazy because I've dated a different abusive person in the past, and I remember their new partner came to me afterwards and was like, why didn't you warn me about this man? Like, this man physically like beat me up. Like, why didn't you warn me about him? And I felt so horrible about it, because I was just like, I didn't think that you would have believed me. Like, I didn't think that, and she was just like, I would have believed you, and it would have saved me from going through that, and I just felt so guilt-ridden by it. So ever since then, I just been always on the fence about whether or not to warn the person. But the ex of this person, it looks like they know that this person is a narcissist. So If they choose to deal with them moving forward, then that's on them, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. And I'm just feeling very discouraged and disgusted because I feel like the devil's really trying to keep me off YouTube really bad and trying to basically break my spirit and trying to re-traumatize me. Trying to remind me of just all throughout my life being abused and having smear campaigns run against me, being the black sheep of my family and having nobody believe me, being lied on. And this person is basically like threatening to do that pretty much if I were not to take my videos down. And it's just like, it's just ridiculous. And I just find it so interesting too, because the videos, none of my videos, like a lot of my storytime videos wouldn't even exist if the person would have handled me properly, like handled me like a human being. The lack of remorse, the cruelty of the ending of these situations is the reason why I started YouTube in the first place, because I needed an outlet. If I was treated like a human being, there wouldn't have been a need for an outlet, which I'm thankful that I needed an outlet because I helped so many people. But I just find it interesting when people get so upset about my storytime videos. And it's just like, do you understand that this is how I process my trauma that you gave me? There would be very little to process if you had treated me with care, not even just throughout the duration of the situation, because we all make like mistakes, especially when we are traumatized. Like, you know, we do things out of trauma. But in the end, if you're able to really, truly, genuinely show a person that you value them as a human and that you are genuinely sorry about what you've done to them, then that in itself can be very healing. And then I probably wouldn't have needed such an outlet. I probably would have, still used my experiences to help people. But like the actual story time videos, like they existed because I can't process what has gone on because of the cruelty of how the things ended. You see what I'm saying? So to be blamed for these videos being up when it's really them that should have handled the situation properly. I can honestly say there's never been a time where I've been cruel to someone and discarded them. Never. There's never been a time where I've done something to someone and then I turn around and block them so that they can't confront me about it. Never. I don't treat human beings like garbage, and I don't treat them like they are disposable, because they're not. When you choose to be in a relationship with someone or a friendship with someone, you owe that person respect and compassion. And you should try to end your connection with them in that way, the best of your abilities, especially if you're the one that's in the wrong. I can't picture myself cheating on someone, and then when they come to me crying, I block them. I can't picture myself doing that. That's just sick. It's sick. And it's people today are too comfortable. Not even just going to say today, like this has been going on since forever, but people are just too comfortable with treating other human beings that way. And I'm actually sick of it. And I think that plays a very large role in why I lash out so bad when it happens, because of the injustice of it all. So that's all I had to say. I just had to get this off my mind. I'm trying to figure out what my next steps are moving forward, because I just feel like this weight on me. I feel like this weight of like just being gaslighted and lied on, and also just paranoid because the story that this person told was so horrible. Like the story that they made up about what our relationship was like and how it ended was so horrible, and they said it with such conviction. I'm like, I can only imagine how many people you've told this story to, and how many people are just like watching and waiting to like say something to me about it or like attack me about, like, because I've had that happen in the past where I've had smear campaigns run against me, and people who believe the smear campaigns wanted to take justice into their own hands and like come and like attack me. And I was always blindsided because I had no clue what they were even talking about. And that's why like these types of people are so dangerous. Like the smear campaigns and the lying on your character, you'll be completely blindsided if someone tries to, if someone decides to take justice to their own hands. Like you'll be completely blindsided by it, It's one thing if you actually did the things and now like you kind of know it's coming, or you know you're going to get backlash for it. But for you to have no clue, for you to not have done anything, and for you to get smeared behind your back, and then people try to take justice to their own hands, yeah, that's very dangerous. And so now it's bringing up so much past trauma. It's bringing up so much like anxiety and paranoia. And I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of it. So I'm trying to just put everything in my 20s behind me completely. And I just have to get comfortable with the idea that there's somebody out there, or there's multiple people out there. Not a lot, like I'm saying multiple as if it's like 6 or 7 people, but it's like 2 in particular, like from my 20s, who were just horrific to me. And for them to have this story made up about me, and like I have to be comfortable with that, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And I'll also say this too, because I have videos about BPD on my channel. I guess this person now has caught wind of the fact that I have BPD because of, I have BPD videos up. And those videos are new, so obviously they didn't see them before. And they were kind of like hinting at that as well. Like, oh, well, yeah, BPD, like you're emotionally unstable. Like, I have to do a whole video about my BPD journey and how disgusting it is that I knew that there were certain abusive people from my past who could see my BPD videos and who could try to weaponize them against me. I knew that. Like, that's why I hesitated so much to even come out publicly and say that I had BPD, because I knew that there are abusive people from my past who would literally try to weaponize it, and who would be like, see, she's BPD. Look, that's how you can tell she's A, B, and C, which is ridiculous. Because like I said, I have to do a whole nother video about my BPD journey, quote unquote, and the way that I have held myself accountable for having it, or for not for having it, but just I strive to hold myself accountable at all times for anything related to me having BPD. And I have a very high level of self-awareness. I have a whole process about it. But so for somebody to try to weaponize it against me is also just disgusting. So yeah, my heart just really goes out to everybody who has ever been through things like this, who have been smeared and lied on, when you know for a fact that everything that was going on was a reaction to how you were being abused. And to everybody who just let the wrong people into their life, only to turn around and have things like this happen. And like I said, I know there's people out there who are going through this on a much worse, much larger scale. And yeah, I can't even imagine. So yeah, I just want to put this all behind me. My spirit feels heavy. It feels heavy because I feel like I'm almost like I'm being punished for trying to process the things I've been through. But also that story that he told, like the story that he told me about what happened in our relationship, how it ended, like the blatant lies of it, it just disturbed my spirit. Because I'm just like, how can you sit here and lie to someone who was there? I was there in the room. I was there through the whole relationship. So for you to be able to say this lie to me with conviction, I can only imagine who else you've said it to. And it just made my spirit feel so heavy, because it's just disgusting. Disgusting when you pride yourself on being a certain type of person, and sick, narcissistic people try to paint you as the exact opposite, and try to paint you as someone that is completely against your own morals when it's really them who are that way. I just feel sickened and disgusted and disturbed. So that's all. I'm always going to be honest with y'all about every step of my journey. And I will go back to making teaching videos as well. Like, it's not going to be all like a video diary like throughout this channel, but I'm just trying to process and express everything that's happening, especially during this retrograde, and just trying to be okay with all of this. And it really just does bring me back to being younger and feeling isolated because I was being abused. And because I was acting out because I was being abused. And all people focused on was me acting out. And not only would they focus on me acting out, but then they would believe inflammatory lies that were being made about me to further demonize me, because I was the only one speaking up against a lot of abuse that I saw when I was younger. So it was like, let's use her acting out as a way to, cover up what we're actually doing to her. But also, let's add on some extra lies about her character to seal the deal and make sure nobody believes her. I went through that when I was younger. And to have to go through it again, it's just disgusting. But I know it's coming back around because it's something that I still need to process. So yeah, that's all. I love you guys. I always look forward to reading your comments. And if you're going through something like this, stay strong, or try to stay strong like I'm trying to do, because I have faith that things like this will pass eventually. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next one.